Juliana, you will find out that I accidentally forgot to start recording this, but I'll give you the assignment for today, and it's 153, numbers 8, 9, and 10, and that includes doing the diagrams for them. And then on 154, doing the odds only for the diagrams, and then on 155, think A and think B, or think A and write B on 155 only, not C. Don't do C on that one. All right, so now let's move to let's go back and let's move to reading. The second part of the Pied Piper of Hamelin.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
I have a question about the reading page from yesterday.
Okay. What question do you have?
A reason. It says on the last part. It says choose an article from your local newspaper. Fill in who, what, when, where, and why.
Yeah. Somebody asked me about that. You did not have to do that part.
Okay.
Yeah. You hardly have newspapers anymore today anyway. I mean, we do have them, of course, but still. Yeah. I could have, if you were here, I could have given you something, but you're not here, so it makes it kind of hard. All right, so we're reading from 383 to 386. I'm going to go ahead and read it all today, and then what I'm going to do is I'll give you guys, or stop every so often and ask you some questions. Try to, as best you can. Sometimes poetry, and especially when somebody is using words that are not familiar to you, he does it. He uses words in order to rhyme, of course, but he's also doing some things that using a lot of what's it called? I can't remember now. Alliteration and assonance, and so he's using a lot of that. And some of these, it makes it a little bit difficult to understand. But go ahead and follow along, and I will start reading part 7. Into the street the piper stepped, smiling first a little smile, then like a musical adept to blow the pipe. His lip he wrinkled, and green and blue his sharp eyes twinkled, like a candle flame where salt is sprinkled. And ere 3 shrill notes the pipe uttered, you heard as if an army muttered, and the murmuring grew to a grumbling, and the grumbling grew to a mighty rumbling, and out of the houses the rats came tumbling. Great rats, small rats, lean rats, brawny rats, brown rats, black rats, gray rats, tawny rats, grave old plotters, gay young friskers, fathers, mothers, uncles, cousins, cocking tails and pricking whiskers, families by tens and dozens, brothers, sisters, husbands, wives, followed the piper for their lives. From street to street he piped advancing, and step for step they followed dancing, until they came to the river Weser, wherein all plunged and perished, save one who, stout as Julius Caesar, swam across and lived to carry, as he the manuscript he cherished, to Ratland home his commentary, which was, at the first shrill notes of the pipe, I heard a sound as of scraping tripe, and putting apples wondrous ripe into a cluster presses gripe, and a moving away of pickled tub boards, and a leaving a jar of conserved cupboards, and a drawing the corks of train oil flasks, and a breaking the hoops of buttered casks. And it seemed as if a voice, sweeter far than by harp or by psaltery is breathed, called out, O rats, rejoice! The world is grown to one vast dry psaltery. So munch on, crunch on, take your munchin', breakfast, supper, lunch, dinner, luncheon, and just as bulky sugar punchin', already starved, already staved, like a great sun shone, glorious scarce an inch before me, just as me thought it said, come bore me. I found the Weser rolling o'er me. All right, so give me, just in a general sense, what's happened in that stanza there?
Well, the rats died.
Okay, they did. Toward the end, that's what they did, all except for how many?
1.
All except for one. And he's the one that kind of described, because he was stout enough or strong enough to make it across the entire river to the other side for safety. And so it says, though, that he describes what his feelings were when he heard the pipe. And so that was kind of the idea of what Robert Browning put in here, was to give you a sense of what the rat was feeling when the time came. And of course, it says that they just couldn't. It was overwhelming, the desire to go ahead and follow the pipe. And then, of course, once he hit the water, he realized, he came to himself, but all the other rats weren't strong enough to survive, but he was. And of course, in his story, Robert Browning did it for what purpose? Why did he let that rat live in his poem? What do you think, Brianna? Why do you think he let the rat live?
Because he loved them so much, like he was like too gracious.
So he killed the thousands just to save one because he loved them so much, huh? What do you think, Andre?
For entertainment.
For entertainment.
Like to like hanging on a folk story, like he barely survived.
Actually, I understand what you mean. I think there's a little bit different reason for it, though. What do you think, Eric?
I think it's because he saw that it was a very strong mouse, so he left him alive.
That's why Robert Browning did it? Okay. Well, is this a real event?
No.
He's the one that's making it up, so it's his imagination. So why in his imagination would he allow this one rat to live in that particular situation? What do you think, Katie?
To make fun of it.
To make fun of the rat? Okay, well.
I don't know.
What do you think, Emma? Or did it already ask you?
I don't know.
Okay, what do you have another idea, Andre?
Yeah, maybe like somebody would know like who would be telling the feelings of the rats, like how they
Very
feel.
good. Exactly. That's exactly why he did it. He did it so that he could let us get an understanding of what the rats were feeling or what they were thinking. Did Eric leave?
Yeah.
It just said, yeah.
He'll probably come back in.
Said,
He'll probably come back in a minute, I'm imagining. All right. So let's go on to part 8. There he is. Lost you there for a moment. What happened?
My internet got lost.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. All right. So here we go. We're on part 8 now. Oh, by the way, you may have missed it, Eric, but the whole purpose was so that we would be able to understand why the rats, what they were feeling, why they followed him right into the water. In other words, they couldn't control themselves, and you wouldn't really have known that or what the feeling was on the rat side unless they had given a description there. So part 8. You should have heard the Hamlin people ringing the bells till they rocked the steeple. Go, cried the mayor, and get long poles, poke out the nests and block up the holes. Consult with carpenters and builders and leave in our town not even a trace of the rats. When suddenly up the face of the piper perked in the marketplace with a first, if you please, my 1,000 guilders. 1,000 guilders? The mayor looked blue. So did the corporation too. To pay this sum to a wandering fellow with a gypsy coat of red and yellow? Beside, quoth the mayor with a knowing wink, our business was done at the river's brink. We saw with our eyes the vermin sink, and what's dead can't come to life, I think. So, friend, we're not the folks to shrink from the duty of giving you something for drink and a matter of money to put in your poke. But as for the guilders, what we spoke of them, as you very well know, was in joke. Beside, our losses made us thrifty. 1,000 guilders, come, take 50. All right, so what's happened here now?
He doesn't want to give the money.
You got scammed.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Katie. We'll let Katie go first.
He asked for money and they gave him more than he asked for.
Okay. What do you think, Eric?
He got scammed, like Andre.
You got it. He got scammed because he had said he would do it for 1,000. They were even offering 50,000. Remember yesterday we were reading? It's like, are you kidding? 1,000? We'll give you 50,000. You get rid of those rats. And but then they realized that they were, well, in their realization, they thought, oh, well, we don't have to pay him anything. He killed all the rats for us. We don't need to worry about it. So we're not going to pay him. Well, how about 50? We'll just give you 50 guilders. And obviously that's much less. So let's go on to part 10 here. It says, the piper's face fell and he cried, no trifling, I can't wait. Beside, I promised to visit by dinner time Baghdad to accept the prime of the head cottage, all he's rich in, for having left in the caliph's kitchen or caliph's kitchen of a nest of scorpions, no survivor. With him I prove no bargain driver. With you, don't think I'll bait a stiver, and folks who put me in a passion may find me piping after another fashion. All right. So what is he telling them? What do you think, Andre? What is the Piper
Well-
telling people?
I kind of don't understand it.
What's that?
I just kind of don't understand it. It's kind of hard
Well,
to
I
understand.
understand. What's that?
It's hard. It's kind of hard to understand this.
Which is one of the reasons why we're reading it together. But you get some words in there. The word stiver, it says with you in the third line from the bottom. With you, don't think I'll bait a stiver. Bait is to take away or subtract. And it says something of value. So he's saying, don't think I'm going to reduce my price, in other words. And so he said he's got to go somewhere. He's got to go to Baghdad because he had a problem with scorpions. And he said he's got other things that he can do to make sure that he pays. And it says here, he says, for having left, this is what he said he did. Hold on. He says he left in the kitchen a nest of scorpions. No survivor. He said he had a whole bunch of scorpions and he didn't have a survivor of the scorpions. He says, but with him, I proved no bargain driver. With you, don't think I'll bait a stiver. He says he tried to do the same thing and he paid for it, is what he's saying. Okay. So what was your question, Emma?
What's up, Baghdad? Baghdad?
Baghdad is a city. It's the capital of Iran today. No,
Oh.
Baghdad. Yeah, Iran. Yeah.
Okay.
So, all right. And then is that the last one? No, I think we've got one more. Yeah. So these two are the last two here for this part, and then we have a third assignment tomorrow. How? Cried the mayor. Do you think I brook being worse treated than a cook? Insulted by a lazy ribald with idle pipe and vesture piebald? You threaten us, fellow. Do your worst. Blow your pipe there till you burst. And so he's saying, what, do you think you're going to threaten us? Said, what are you going to do? Go ahead, blow your pipe. Do what you want to do. Well, then again, it says here in verse 12, or in stanza 12, once more he stepped into the street and to his lips again laid his long pipe of smooth straight cane. And ere he blew 3 notes, such sweet soft notes as yet musicians cunning never gave the enraptured air. There was a rustling that seemed like a bustling of merry crowds justling at pitching and hustling. Small feet were pattering, wooden shoes clattering, little hands clapping and little tongues chattering. And like fowls in a farmyard when barley is scattering, out came the children running. All the little boys and girls with rosy cheeks and flaxen curls, and sparkling eyes and teeth like pearls, tripping and skipping, ran merrily after the wonderful music with shouting and laughter. So we leave you there. Now, we can finish it today if you would like. I don't know if you'd like to hear the end of the story. And then you would just do the 2 pages that are due tomorrow. That would be for the next section, which is the end of the thing here. You guys want to finish reading it? Or you don't care? No matter. Okay, then we'll wait till tomorrow. So you have your 2 pages. If you look at your work text, 151. So 151. What they're trying to get you to do there is to take the title for the newspaper story that they have there. It says, use the sample headlines to discover the meaning of the underlined words. All right. And so you may know what some of these words mean already. You probably do for some of them. But we'll find out here. Chronic rat problem prompts business to locate elsewhere. So what does chronic mean? What do you think? You guys have heard that before? Go ahead, Katie. I'm sorry.
It means like really bad.
Yeah, something that's unending or really bad. So if you took that meaning, what can you how can you reword the chronic rat problem prompts business to locate elsewhere? It certainly sounds like a newspaper title, doesn't it? But what is it? What is he basically saying? What would you write? How would you write it? Using the definition for chronic that Katie just gave us. Where'd Eric go again? Internet problem. Hawaii? Is that what you said? I don't think anybody's going to Hawaii right now.
I
Oh,
wish.
so go ahead, Andre. What do you think? What did you say again? Was the definition for chronic, Katie?
Like really bad.
Really bad, and it also can be unending. And so that's when somebody has a chronic health problem, it's because it never ends. It's something they deal with all the time. So unending rat problem drives business out of town. Okay, that's kind of the idea. Unending rat problem drives business out of town. So prompts business to locate elsewhere. In other words, it drives the business out of town. So that's one way to put it. That's what they have in their book. But that's kind of the idea of what you are going to be doing for writing your own definition. And if you don't know the definition of a word, you're more than welcome to look it up, of course. You don't need to. But if you know the definition, you can probably figure it out from what it's written in. We'll do one more. Town wonders about mayor's eligibility for re-election. So what does eligibility mean? Yes, Andre.
Allowance?
Not just allowance. That wouldn't be quite correct. Eligibility, like yeah. Go ahead.
The ability to like do something.
In a sense, but not just because of physically being able to do it, but because you are. For instance, if you weren't eligible for basketball when you had a 2 Ds or an F, if that was the case, or volleyball, girls, same thing. If you were ineligible, what did that mean? That you weren't what?
Like we weren't allowed to go. Like
Yeah, you weren't allowed. You weren't. You didn't meet the high mark. You didn't meet a high enough mark. You weren't good enough to be able to go to it. Okay. So, town wonders about mayor's eligibility for re-election. Then, what would you think you could rewrite that as? So, the definition: not good enough, or not high enough, or not well enough, or however you want to describe it. But then, for the town wonders about mayor's eligibility for re-election, what might you write? What can you come up with? Andre, go ahead.
Probably like town starts voting about the mayor's like re-election.
Pretty close. That's close to what they have here. What they have is this: town questions whether mayor is good enough to be elected again. Town questions whether mayor is good enough to be elected again. All right, so we'll stop there on the page 152 on the back side. It's pretty easy. What you're doing is you're looking up. Let's go through that. The thing on the right. You guys know what automotive means? What does automotive mean?
Automatically have a motivation.
No. Automotive. An automotive section would have to do with cars, vehicles, an automobile. Okay? So you might want to write that down next to it so that you can help yourself. 2, you guys know what business is, right? Business, people are doing business. What about an editorial? What's an editorial? Anybody know?
I've heard of it before, but I forgot what it means.
Okay. Well, an editorial is basically a section of the newspaper that has somebody who writes an article that they're putting their opinion about something in. And so that's what that's for. So it's an opinion writing type of thing. Of course, international news means what? News where?
Everywhere.
Everywhere, around the world, right. So and then local would be?
Live news.
What would local be? If international is around the world, what would local be?
Local.
Go ahead, Emma.
Like around that, like that city or country would be just around that
usually
part. That's
right. Yeah, usually right around where you live, right around the area where you live. So it could be if you guys ever seen the Kent Reporter, the Maple Valley Reporter, the Renton Reporter, those little newspapers that are just for that local area. That's what those are. How about obituaries? Does anybody know what that is? You do? Okay, go ahead, Katie.
Isn't it like sports?
No, because sports is 2 more down from there. So.
Oh, never mind.
So obituaries is a part of the newspaper that talks about people who have died. You can put in, if somebody dies, you can actually put an obituary. Usually they charge you to do it. Put an obituary in there that describes, the family can put it in there and it describes what that person did in their life. Some of the things that, who the people are that were related to them that are left behind now that they've died. Sports, of course, you know what that is. And then stocks. What are stocks?
Oh, is it like the stock market, like
So it's
something?
investments, yeah, having to do with investing in companies, investing money, and doing that. So, all right, and of course, the last one, you know what that is. What is it? What is the last one?
Oh, weather.
No, it's weather. Weather's different than weather. No, I'm just joking. It is weather. And so, yes, it's weather. And so you should be able to figure those out where they go. Some of them might fit in more than one, but most of them, I think you can pretty much figure out that they're just one thing. So, all right, well, that's it. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a good afternoon and enjoy your day.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.